What are you running inside it? Are you going with Sealant? Are you going with inserts? What's your game day setup?
Yeah, I run the Silka tire sealant. To be honest, I think that it's probably the most puncture resistant sealant on the market. There's trade-offs with that, though. It does dry out quickly, but for a race day sealant, it works amazing. And then I do Vittoria tire inserts. So when you're running low pressure, which you should run low pressure because low pressure is not only more comfortable, it's faster. But when you run that low pressure, you do run the risk of hitting the rim and potentially getting a puncture.
And Silka have that cool, I'm sure you know about it for listeners, the cool tire pressure calculator up on their website.
Yeah, it's amazing how well that thing works. I'll test different pressures as well, and I'll start with what Silka tells me to run, and then I'll drop it a few psi, and I'll raise it a few psi, and usually the Silka tire pressure calculator is pretty close.
What's your strategy if you do flatten a race? What are you bringing with you?
I got a Dynaplug and a CO2. I'm going to be honest, I rarely bring a tube with me because usually in a gravel race, if you have to put a tube in, you're going to get another flat and your race is kind of over. I don't recommend that for people. I think people should bring a tube, but I usually don't.
Have you tried Muck-Off's BAM product?
I have not. I've not heard about this.
I've been playing around with it. It's pretty cool. It's a sealant and a CO2 all in one canister. So it's just, you literally have it strapped to the back of the gravel bike. I'm not sure of its application on a race day because I guess you're going to have fresh sealant in anyway. So if you get a slice,
it's kind of like fix a flat on a car, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like out training where I'm typically running wheels that maybe the sealant's a little bit drier than it should be, and I get a flat and the sealant doesn't catch it, you just hit this and it's like fresh coat of sealant and the CO2 all in one go, and it's like boom. If that doesn't get you home, it's like taxi.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I've only started it like 2-3 months ago, and it's pulled me out of it just saves your day because like when you're it's great having a tube with you and stuff, but it's fucking sealant everywhere, all over your hands, all over your clothes. Trying to pop that thing back on the rim, it's like your day is ruined.
Speaking of Muck-Off, I don't know if you caught the series that I did with Adam Caron of Zero Friction Cycling.
No, I haven't seen it. I'll check it out.
The Australian guy. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, he's just talking about drivetrain efficiency. He's talking about, he tests different lubricants and all of that. But he talks about Muck-Off as one of these brands that their marketing claims don't line up with his test results. And
this is their ludicrous lube. Are you talking about this? Their one purportedly Ghana used it for the world hour record.
So what he does is he tests for longevity. And he puts the lubricant on the chain, and then he sees how long it takes the chain to wear. Because if the chain is wearing quickly, that means there's a lot of friction in the drivetrain. So not only does a fast lubricant save you watts, but it also increases the lifespan of your drivetrain. But whenever he tests the Muck-Off products, the drivetrain does not last long. It wears quickly, which means there has to be friction in the system. So he's very skeptical of Muck-Off's marketing claims.
So was they're not publishing their data, or they're not showing how? I've never dug into it too deep.
You should have him on the podcast. I don't know off the top of my head here, but he would be a great guest to have on the podcast because he can go on and on about this nerdy drivetrain efficiency stuff forever. Hopefully the listeners are into that, but yeah.
And it does make such a difference. Like there's 4 podcasts out there. Like anytime I listen to Josh from Silka, it seems like he has endless conversations about chain lubes versus waxes. And it's like,
crazy.
How many hours can you talk on this so passionately?
I know. Yeah. So Josh has had Adam on the podcast. And if you go and listen on the Marginal Gains podcast, if you go and listen to those episodes, it is amazing how long they can talk about chain lube. I mean, hours.
Like, I suppose we better touch on it since we're on the subject. But do you have a go-to chain? I've been rocking the Ceramic Speed UFO one. How many watts am I giving away there?
No, you're not. You're probably not giving away any watts. That's a great one. That one, and then also I use Silka's wax chain as well. I've got a Shimano drivetrain on my gravel and road bikes. So the Shimano Dura-Ace chain is very fast, but I've got a SRAM drivetrain on my mountain bike. And instead of running a SRAM chain, which is notoriously slow, I'll run a KMC usually.
What's the deal with SRAM? Like, the dogs on the street know SRAM make the slowest chains in the world. Surely they're ahead of product is aware of this.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why they can't figure that out. And what's baffling too is that the higher end SRAM chains, the SRAM red chains, seem to be slower than the SRAM force chains. So if you have a SRAM drivetrain and you need to run that SRAM chain, go with the force chain, don't go with the red chain.
If you enjoyed this little clip from the podcast, you can check out full episodes of the podcast on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can click up here for another video that I know you're going to love. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next day.